Well, hi everyone. I just wanted to say hi to you and thanks for joining today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join me for the next half hour here where we're just going to be exploring the SOLIDWORKS Electrical and then go a little bit further because at this point that's, if you're using SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic, you found it to be an awesome tool. But there are some things that you may or may not have considered. Now, let's just get right into it. So when you're taking the next steps after schematic, because at this point you are probably using the schematic professional, so you've been able to utilize the great tool that we have for creating those prints that you need for your electrical design. But we're going to look at taking that to the next step. The next step would be going into SOLIDWORKS and using the SOLIDWORKS Electrical 3D add-in. And then just because it was fun, I decided to also investigate SOLIDWORKS Visualize, which SOLIDWORKS Visualize Standard comes with your SOLIDWORKS Professional or Premium seats. You don't even have to buy it. So we'll take a look at some of that. And that's where we're going to be going. So with your standard schematics, you probably already have the fact that you're creating these awesome schematics. You've been able to optimize on the fact of the management that happens inside the software. And, of course, you've probably created your own cabinet layouts. And those types of things are very easy to do here. We're talking about simply dropping in duct and DIN rail, and then you are placing those components. But you've found that, you're dealing with a lot of O-snaps and a lot of mouse clicking. Maybe those symbols that you are wanting to drop on your DIN rail aren't necessarily centered on your DIN rail because then you have to do things like using O-snap and a center line. But you can get some great views of your drawings, including your terminal strips. But those terminal strips, you may not be able to easily, in a large size drawing, you lose some of that detail when you zoom out or create that print. So let's take a look at SOLIDWORKS. We're going to go ahead and look at the SOLIDWORKS 3D, which then allows you to create sub-assemblies of every one of your locations. So that is strictly just a link. The link is just a matter of now going into SOLIDWORKS, and once you have purchased SOLIDWORKS Electrical 3D, you can come in and utilizing the add-ins, you can then have electrical, but it also is providing you with routing. So it's not something you have to buy separate. It's going to come with your electrical 3D to get you both. And you'll be able to then utilize the fact that you can use a project that you created in your schematic to then be able to have that collaborative environment to then work in the 3D environment, which is where a lot of people are going these days. Now, what you may notice over on the left hand of the screen here is that I've got a component tree, and that component tree looks pretty much the same as what it did when you were in schematic. But there's a difference. You are now working with 3D models and placing them on DIN rail. When you place them on the DIN rail, they are going to be utilizing SmartMates, which means that they are going to automatically snap to your DIN rail. Everything is going to be lined up. You can even, when you are placing multiple devices, utilize the dimensioning, which is going to give you a width mate as well. Now notice even when I make a mistake, just like in your 2D, you can delete a 3D model out of the assignment if it snaps in wrong, because of course, we're talking about DIN rail. You could snap to the front face or snap to the side. I accidentally snapped to the front, but replacing that 3D model becomes very easy to do. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you make a change in your schematic with a specific manufacturer's part, it is then going to also impact how your 3D is utilized, and it's going to delete those models because those models are not necessarily the same size. Where in a 2D cabinet, you're not going to see that as easily. But here you can actually notice those changes because you are in a 3D environment. But even placing a terminal strip, as you can see, it's just a matter of another click, just like you do in schematic. It's not really a big deal. It's very easy to get used to this, and it is so much quicker because you are using that 3D environment. But we're going to take this even further because, of course, if you are familiar with SOLIDWORKS, then you are familiar with the fact that SOLIDWORKS has some great tools for creating things like your drawings. And so that's what we're going to take a look at here now, because these types of assemblies, the first thing you are wanting to do is maybe you want a side view of your cabinet. Maybe you want a front view of the door. To do that, all you're going to have to do is simply make a drawing of an assembly. That's easy to do if you understand the process. And we're going to go through this process a couple of times here just because, of course, this is the type of stuff that the mechanical guys do on a regular basis, but electrical, they don't really talk about this area. And so we're going to take this front view of our subassembly, which just happens to be also with some mechanical stuff, and we're just going to crop this view so that way I'm looking at just the cabinet. Now, when I'm doing this, it's just a matter of some sketching and then cropping. But what you can do with this now is take this to the next level. You never had the ability to create these drawings in your schematic tool because those types of tools that you are needing to do are then going to allow you to have the additional work of SOLIDWORKS. You can create auxiliary views. You can create detailed views. So let's take a look at this. We just cropped this view. It's still small. You can now scale this into your drawing set. So in order to do that, you would simply just highlight this view, and now when you do, you can then set a scale. You're not having to worry about picking each thing and is it actually picked. It's going to scale the whole thing for you because it's a drawing view. But because it's a drawing view, if your assembly changes, then so does the drawing. It's going to update. So creating a detailed view of a terminal strip. Notice that I can scale that terminal strip now, and I don't have to worry about a copy and paste because truly I am working with SOLIDWORKS here and giving you the ability to optimize using the SOLIDWORKS tools. We are just creating drawings. But here's the extra part to this. I can then take this and create more views of this cabinet. If you like having a secondary view, notice that I've got some push buttons on that front door that I might also want to utilize. I can go ahead and just create that drawing as well, but I can create it in a couple of different views that you may not have availability to do in your schematic tool. So here we're just going to go ahead and grab that door now. I'm going to use another cropped view to create the door. Now, of course, I may have some stuff that's in the way. And you'll notice that here. I'm going to zoom in, grab that door, and take a picture of just that view. I'm going to just crop it to that view of the door to be able to see this. Now, this is great for Lamicoid tags, but it's also great for placement of push buttons, because the placement of your push buttons, as you know, are very critical when you send it off to the panel builder, that you want to be able to give them the exact cutouts of your door or the exact layout for where these buttons should be at. Now, notice that when I cropped that view, I captured some extra components. You can simply just hide those components from this view, and you will get a nice, clean door to work with. It's just a matter of hiding these components. So it's not difficult to make these types of drawings. You just need to utilize the electrical 3D option, excuse me, and then take that and use the SOLIDWORKS drawing tools to be able to give you this nice layout. So now I've got a picture of a door. Of course, if you're doing lots of harding plugs on the side of your panel, maybe there's other options. But even here, I can take, and maybe I'm going to just show it in a different view. Maybe I want to show it in a more realistic view because I need that label to be shown on the door. If you like color drawings, it's just a matter of selecting a view and then selecting the appearance here for shaded, and it's going to give you those real looking drawings. You can make these instead of black and white if you are so inclined, but it's available to you. Those types of things you are not going to have available to you in the schematic, which the schematic is a great tool. But you can also take this one step further. In SOLIDWORKS, you can create what we call smart mates or smart features. This is the hole for the light. Notice that I have a light here, and if I use the tab key, I can actually see these holes. Well, what's nice about this is that if I hide those buttons or lights, I can now create that entire hole pattern layout and make another drawing of just that. So now I've created my cabinet layout. I've created my front door. Here I can create a cutout of my panel buttons, and using the Smart Dimension tool, I can simply just go ahead and snap those and call out these dimensions. So that way my panel builder has all of these at their fingertips, and all I needed to do was some quick mouse clicks. I didn't have to do a whole lot of anything. It's actually quite easy to create these types of drawings. Now you'll notice right now that this is at 5.51. If I make a change, as I mentioned, in my assembly, so I'm just going to simply grab that light and I'm going to float it so that I can move it to a new location. When I do that, you're going to see that that hole stayed where it was. I can simply go ahead and with a simple rebuild, that hole moves. Or if I just go ahead and save the file, it's going to do the exact same thing. But notice what happened to my drawing. Immediately, the drawing now sees that I am at 3 inches, 3.94 inches instead of 5.51. Those types of changes on your assembly are just like when you're working in schematic. They are going to dynamically update into your drawings. These drawings are then going to be more interactive for you to be able to make those types of changes. That then gives you some great tools that you can now utilize without a whole lot of effort. Remember that we also have routing. Routing is part of your 3D. My schematic already tells me my from to list. And without having to create clips to route through or anything like that, we use the ductwork and the fact that we have a 3D sketch that then allows us to know where to route these wires. The wires have thickness, they have intelligence, they know what they're connected to and from. Those types of functions are then in the SOLIDWORKS 3D. It is creating a sub-assembly for every wire style. Now, what does this do for you? Well, if you have to create technical documentation, this can be a great tool. You can use display states on those sub-assemblies, and then you can create drawings of that. So we're going to go ahead and make a display state of one of the wire styles here, and it just happens to be the phase 1 red wires that are currently in this drawing. So how do I do that? I am simply going to hide the other sub-assemblies that were created. Now I have just the phase 1. Think of when you have all those sister lines that you want to make the same as the project that you are currently working on, and you want them to always be wired the same way. You can create drawings of each of these wire styles to show exactly where these wires should be routed, and then provide that to your panel builder or to your customer, or just for any type of technical documentation that you're looking for. Those types of drawings can help keep everything looking the same. You can start getting those standards where these types of drawings would take forever to build if you were not using SOLIDWORKS and the routing tools. These are just some of the different advantages that you have by using a platform. You can use the schematic tools, then building upon that into the electrical 3D. Notice here is that second wire set so that you can actually see exactly where those are going. Now it's just a matter of creating a drawing from that. Well, that's an easy thing too. It's just a matter of going ahead and creating another drawing. You simply say File, make a drawing from an assembly. Those types of tools can make a great advantage to your technical drawing set, because now if you think about it, the amount of time that people are bothering you for making sure that everything looks the same, acts the same, again, it's just a drawing of an assembly. If you change the route, the drawing is going to change. You are not going to have to do anything differently than what we are doing here. You are simply making those drawings, then that assembly, however it is changed, whatever configurations you make, you can make those drawings also for the specific assemblies that you are wanting or specific views that you are looking for. Scaling it, again, makes it very easy. This type of stuff, you talk with SOLIDWORKS users, and this is like second nature to them. But in electrical, these are some of those things that we have never in the past thought of, but are available to us because they were developed for mechanical. And it's just a matter of being able to utilize them in our environment, which for me is very exciting, because these types of things 10 years ago would never, you'd never even think to want create this type of stuff, because this was never available to the electrical department. It was always, use the tools that are available to you. But here, just making a simple copy of a drawing and then changing the configuration or the display state is all that this takes. You just come down, you make a quick button change, and the drawing is created for you. How cool is that? I mean, that type of stuff to me is just amazing. So here we're going to create this last drawing set real quick, just so that way you can see how this works, and then we're going to take this into the next level. I just started playing around with this a couple of weeks ago because I was trying to create some really cool pictures. Well, these are cool pictures, but what if you want to take this one step further? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at this 3D assembly now that is this entire cabinet, and what can we do with it? Well, this creates those assemblies in the background that SOLIDWORKS utilizes, but we're going to take this into SOLIDWORKS Visualize. Now, SOLIDWORKS, the steps that I'm going through can be provided to you in Visualize Standard. Notice all I did was bring in the 3D model. And already, because of the appearances that were in the 3D model, I already got a realistic view. But you can play around with backgrounds. You can play around with the coloring of specific entities. Notice I'm selecting a specific wire style here and making it glow. These are the types of things that are available to you in Visualize. And if you have standard or professional or premium SOLIDWORKS, this software you already have. This is stuff that you can create for really great sales presentations if you're wanting to create those types of machines or electric that, hey, this is the type of work that we showcase. You can show this and Visualize in just a couple of minutes. And you can play around with brightnesses, you can play around with camera shots, you can play around with what kind of backgrounds, and strictly you'll notice that it does pixelate when I'm moving, but that's because it's using a lot of graphics resources in the background. But you can then place your models inside a fabrication environment. And then you can play with rotating around your specific assembly and then play around with the coloring to get those realistic views. And this is exactly what I did when we were creating this picture for the image that you see in the registration of this webinar. This is called Visualize. The Visualize Standard is all you need to create some of this, and you're playing around with just how much do you want it to glow, how much do you want shadow, how much shininess do you want, and you can pick that for the different components depending on what you're wanting to showcase. And truly here, I wanted to showcase the wires because really from 3D and schematic, just where can you take this to go to the next level? And this is exactly it. You can showcase your equipment and at the same time showcase the electric, which can really play a nice view when you are then rendering it to the full extent. There are different ways you can render while you're testing, which is what we were doing, where you were playing around with the different settings in the background. And because you're doing that, you can then link it to the floor so that you can see how it looks inside a specific environment. But you're grabbing just those pictures and then rendering either in a standard form, which is, a low-case resource, or then a higher resource, and then finally creating that final render, which is then going to be those pictures that you then send, and you can do those in a queue type format in the background for later on in the evening, so that it doesn't utilize up your resources now. Those are the types of things that are available to you that I wanted to at least just showcase to you today. So, what did we talk about? Well, most likely, hopefully, you're using SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic, which, of course, you can create those easy prints that we are very used to, all of your schematic designs. Of course, you also have those multiple reports that you can do automatically. But the thing is, you can collaborate across the software platform. And then you can utilize multiple users as well, whether it's SOLIDWORKS users, electrical users, and then you can share that symbol and manufacturers, libraries, and projects between those individuals. That ends up giving you a great backbone. That backbone can then be utilized now with SOLIDWORKS utilizing the 3D electrical add-in. You have the ability to create those sub-assemblies with the electrical designs. You can then capitalize on SOLIDWORKS drawings of your assemblies and create technical documents really easy that are going to update based off of your assembly. And then, of course, we looked at Visualize. We looked at Visualize Standard, and that's really cool because, yes, if you have SOLIDWORKS Professional or SOLIDWORKS Premium, it's free. You already own it. Otherwise, you can get it from us if that's what you're looking for. But you can render real graphics views and create some great sales presentation documentation. You don't have to go onto the web to go look for images of your equipment or take pictures and then publish them and, oh, it's not a good view or the lighting wasn't good. Utilize Visualize and you won't have those issues whatsoever. Guys, thank you so much for joining. We have a newsletter. We have training available. You have the YouTube video from the GoEngineer channel. Or if you need to get in touch with me because you'd like to learn more, please go ahead and email me. I am here. I'm also on LinkedIn. And if you want to follow GoEngineer on any of our social websites, we are available. Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions before I let you go for the afternoon? All right. Well, I greatly appreciate your time, everyone. I hope you found this to be informative, give you some ideas, maybe a Christmas list to join in for being able to utilize that just a little bit further. If so, give me a yell or talk with your sales account manager here at GoEngineer. Thanks for your time, everybody. Have a great day. Bye now.